Welcome to the At Coalface Podcast with your host, Jason Greenwood. This podcast is all about what it's really like in the trenches of digital and e-commerce. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of At the Coalface. It's my pleasure to welcome to the podcast today, Ohad Greenshpan from Namogoo. Welcome, Ohad.
Hi. Excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Very much my pleasure. It is exciting for me to have you here because we're going to talk about a technology, a SaaS platform that is your platform that does some things that are very unique and certainly in the way that it does it, that it's unique. But I'd love for you, we were talking briefly before we started recording about the origins of the name of your brand. And also, I'd love to talk a little bit about, before we get into the plumb the depths of the platform, I'd love to find out what's in the water in Israel because, man, I think I've had 4, maybe 5 Israelis now with their platforms on the podcast, and it seems like the area of e-commerce, digital tech, it's all gone crazy in Israel, and we have some amazing technologies coming out of Israel right now. It seems like Israel, from a tech perspective, is just dominating at the moment, and I'd love to talk about that as well. But maybe you can start with the history of your name, history of the company, and we can go from there.
We spoke briefly about the origin of the name. Or Namog in singular, or Namogoo in plural in Hebrew, means dissolved or faded away or disappeared. When a person goes far away and then at some point he fades away or disappears. So that's the Hebrew meaning of Namogoo. Actually came from the Bible originally, but the idea for Namogoo is the first product that we came out with, which is called customer hijacking prevention, protects the end customer from any kind of interruption that might appear on the client side, whether it's unwanted advertising that is sometimes there, or shopping extensions that sometimes might do good, might do bad, but anyway, they cover things on the screen and interrupt the customer journey. We provide our clients the way to control them, and if they want, to make them disappear. So that's the kind of the connection to the name. And when we talked briefly before, I told you a funny story that for many years we thought it sounds very Japanese. So in one of our visits in Japan with some of the biggest companies there, we told them, hey, Namogoo is a Japanese word. They said, not even close. So what sounds Japanese to us doesn't sound Japanese to them. But anyway, people love the name. We love the name. It has a very good connection, and it sounds cool, in our opinion, but we're buying.
Yeah. And rightly, it sounds like you've built an incredible platform. You've been doing this for nearly 8 years now. You're the co-founder and CTO of Namogoo, but your background is definitely high tech. You were a researcher and programmer at Weizmann Institute. You were a research staff member at IBM. You were a co-founder and CEO of Fashaholic as well back in 2010 to 2014. So you've kind of got this it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde background, right? You've got this serious sort of tech background, research, deep research, technical background, and then you've got this retail tech background or this retail exposure in fashion e-commerce space and gamification of that. And now you live at that apex, right? You live at the apex of a platform that's very technical and obviously you've been developing it for a long time now, but what it does or what it intends to do or what it says it does on the tin, so to speak, on the outside of the box is really just smoothing the customer journey, personalizing the customer journey, and ultimately at the end of the day, making sure that e-commerce brands in particular, they leak less revenue, I guess is one of the key things that your platform does. Would that be right?
Yes. So partially, we started with that. Maybe I'll rephrase it a bit, but actually you said it exactly right. The platform that Namogoo developed is called the Digital Journey Continuity, and that's what we're all about. We try to ensure continuity of the customer journey because the customer journey today is so complex. People come, people go, they browse, they have all kinds of interruptions, they have all kinds of offers. they browse in several tabs, different sites in parallel. Everything is so hectic today. And we want to help our brands or help our clients ensure they have the best customer experience in terms of continuity. Customer experience, so many companies are dealing with that. But the area that Namogoo exists in is the client-side aspect of it. So Namogoo has been building things inside the browser, inside the client-side area for so many years, and there are so many things there that are unseen or untapped. And that's the area where Namogoo operates. So continuity, in order to provide continuity, to make sure that customers come and have what they need at the time they need online and come back to additional sessions to have what we call unstoppable journey, never leave. There are several aspects to it. So the first one is what we started with, as we mentioned, customer hijacking prevention. It's a set of modules that try to ensure that our clients, the H&Ms of the world and JCPenney's of the world and Lowe's, etc., have control on what the customer is feeling, what the customer is seeing at any given moment, and provide them to control what is going to run there on the customer journey. And many things that are running there are not under their control. It can be, as we mentioned, the unwanted advertising. It can be that leak. It can be either, by the way, when you go to a coffee shop and you get free Wi-Fi, some things might be added to the page to ensure interaction and even to show consent to the user. But at the end of the day, it covers important real estate that H&M or JCPenney planned to have on the page. Or it can be shopping extensions that provide the price comparison and provide alternatives on Amazon and provide coupons that might be relevant, might not be relevant to this time of year, etc. So this is the first aspect of the continuity. Ensure that there are no interruptions that might take the customer away or even the customer attention away. The second aspect of it actually resulted from two acquisitions that we've done and in the past. The first one, and this is the whole world of understanding the intent of the customer and provide the customer what he or she needs at any given moment. And this is unlike the first modules that I mentioned. This is an active product, a product that engages, that is engaging with the customer. And here in this product, we predict the intent of the customer. In other words, the probability to buy and the probability to abandon. And based on that, we provide personalized or individualized promotions on the fly. In other words, what we say to our clients when we talk to them. So if you go to a mall and you see promotion in the mall, you get a 20% discount for all. Sorry. But the irony is, if you go to any website, 99% of the websites today, you and I would get the same promotion online. And it doesn't make any sense. It's 2022. You have so much data and you have so much to do and so much computing power. And providing everyone the same promotion doesn't make any sense anymore. But the irony is that you go to websites and that's the reality today, right? I'm not talking about Booking.com, which is very famous for providing different pricing at different times. And of course, Amazon and Netflix. So Namogoo in that aspect changes the paradigm completely, like revolutionizing the paradigm of how retail companies or e-commerce companies run promotions today. So instead of 20% to all, we have an engine that learns the end user very quickly. It comes with a great model upfront and predicts the probability to buy, the probability to abandon. And based on that, every user would get a different discount or different promotion. It might be free shipping, might be discount, might be something else, might be offer to join the loyalty for the exchange of email and phone numbers, etc., etc. So the engine would predict the probability, and in real time would select the right promotion at the right time to a user, or in many cases, no promotion at all. So if the engine predicts that you're going to buy anyway, why spending 20% off on you while you browse. Or the other side of it, in many cases, 20% might not be enough for JSON. So we might need to go up to 22%, 25%, 30%. And if by not giving you what you need at the right time, we're going to lose you. So we are helping companies both save on one hand, but also go to be more bold on the other hand and provide every customer a different promotion. So these are the two main elements. And actually, we're now developing a new module that I'll be happy to talk about it soon. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming for you.
No, not at all. Let's unpick some of the elements of this that you were talking about. So if we unpick some of the customer hijacking prevention that you were talking about, we're talking about maybe a customer has a app installed in their browser, an extension installed like Honey, for example, which is, well, obviously Honey is a very well-known app or extension for most of the major browsers out there. And what it does is it automatically applies online coupons on e-commerce websites, and it takes a cut, basically, of any money that it saves on behalf of customers. Now, the downside of that is that what it does is it ultimately extending sometimes those coupon codes that should have been unique for one customer. It aggregates them because somebody's put it in, it's captured that on input, and then it's reusing that in areas where a brand may not have ever intended it to be used. And so where they didn't want to necessarily syndicate coupons or promo codes or deals, Honey is actually syndicating on their behalf without their approval. And there's many, browser extensions that do this, and there's other sort of journey hijacking mechanisms that come into play. And what you're saying is that particular module effectively blocks those apps or extensions from doing what they do in the checkout, in other moments along the customer journey. Your system detects that, and it prevents that from doing that function, correct?
Correct. So we have companies that say, listen, I don't want anything to run on my site. Help me block everything. So we have many companies like that, many accounts like that, the clients like that. And we have clients that come to us and say, listen, we are partners with Honey. We are sellers on Amazon. Well, let's take Honey as an example. It's a good example. And Honey, great results. People converting, customers are happy, are buying this, everything is great. And they want to extend our relationship to take it to the next level. And our clients don't really know what to do with it because the data is not, so they see data from Honey, but they don't know if it's true or not true. And they want to own the data. B, they say maybe they're right and the customers are converting and everything and they are buying and everything, but maybe it's not because of Honey. Maybe it's just great customers anyway. So maybe they are taking credit for something that's not theirs. So that's another aspect. Another aspect is exactly what you mentioned. They're aggregating coupons and they have a group of enthusiastic group of people that are using like a big group that is using community that is using Honey. And Honey reuses coupons between all of them. So coupon that I might be using on one side, Honey might take it and provide it to someone else. And by that, doing exactly what you said. In many cases, but in a way, they control my margins. They control my sales. They control how I'm selling online, which is problematic. Also, in many cases, we see cases where the coupons strategy that I have on my site is not necessarily aligned with what Honey has at any given moment. So let's say I might be promoting a Labor Day, but they might provide my customers coupons on my site for back to school. So they might not be correlation in terms of messaging and marketing. And marketing, especially these days, has to be so fine-tuned and so to the point. At the end of the day, it's one experience. It might not match. Another problem, in many cases, and we see it, Honey might provide coupons that are not valid anymore. So they don't really know that I disabled some coupons on my site. So they might provide it to my customers and lead to frustration, right? And make them Namogoo, right? Make them fade away or disappear. So it's problematic because they provide something that is no longer valid, which is a problem, and it leads to abandonment, and we see this phenomenon on sites. And lastly, maybe I don't want to provide any coupons of theirs anymore. Maybe I want to control my site. And actually, another problem that I haven't mentioned is when Honey is not able to provide any coupons, they might say, oops, we haven't found any coupons. Would you like to try coupons in our other stores that are supported by Honey? So at some point, they might switch and take customers away from the site. Many aspects to why Honey, although trying to be good for the customer, might not be necessarily good for Lowe's, JCPenney, H&M, etc., etc. And we see these companies coming to us, and I'm not sure if I want to block it. I'm not sure if I want to preserve it, but give me tools to evaluate. So what our product does provides them ways to detect and see the phenomenon and see the analytics behind it, see the patterns of these customers, what they do, how they buy, etc., etc. Then provide them the ability to A/B test, block this phenomenon or stop this phenomenon for a certain portion of the population, and evaluate whether maybe it's good for you, maybe it's not good for you, maybe it doesn't move the needle. We see companies that for some reason the changes are dramatic, like it provides a dramatic distraction. We see in some companies that it actually helps, and we see some companies it doesn't move the needle. So we provide them tools to evaluate whether it's a Honey or a Rakuten, eBay, or Retail Minot or Capital One Shopping. Actually, just recently, Microsoft just launched a new capability in Microsoft Edge browser. For many years, Microsoft has been always a neutral in this game, unlike Amazon and Google that are actively involved in the shopping area. And now Microsoft launched a new capability that provides you alternative products on sites, and it's part of the browser. It's part of Edge, and we see it as a trend, especially these days when everyone tries to get screen time with the end user. So to be like a D2C, has some contact with the consumer, whether it's brands or retailers or even the browsers themselves, because everyone is online even more than before, and everyone wants to get a cut, as you say, from it. And we see it as a growing trend in the market.
Yeah, and I guess in that scenario, we can think of Microsoft as being hostile against the specific retailer, because that retailer may have paid for that acquisition through even a Bing ad or a Microsoft search ad of some variety, or a Google ad or a Facebook ad. They may have paid to acquire that customer landing on their site. And then if Microsoft is representing and presenting alternatives to them that link to other websites that may be, for example, advertised with Microsoft, wow, that is not, although that might be perceived as somewhat customer-centric, it is certainly potentially a distraction to the customer, but also B, it's certainly hostile in the sense that if you can directly compare side by side with a competitor, when Microsoft might not know why a price might be different between one competitor and another, but if the customer is only looking for a price comparison, that may be very detrimental to your brand. Now, if we move on to some of the other modules within Namogoo, if we look at the intent-based promotions, let's give a practical example of this in action. And what I can think of is on websites, for example, where it looks like I'm going to go up and click the back button, which would cause me to leave the site, or I'm going to go up and click on the X to close the tab on an e-commerce website. And just 2 centimeters before I get to the X, a pop-up comes up and says, 15% off for buying now, or here's an offer on the product you looked at, or whatever the case may be. That is intent-based promotions, right? That is calculating. Your AI or your machine learning is basically looking at perhaps velocity through the site, number of pages that they've seen versus the average, whether they've got products in their cart or not, whether they've got products on a wish list or not, where they're clicking on the website at any given point in time, whether it looks like they're going to leave the website. You're taking into account all of the clickstream analytics as they are browsing the website. And then based on the intent that you think they're going to take next, you then are going to effectively, this is like browse intent or exit intent, you are going to try to interrupt that behavior that isn't perhaps what the merchant wants them to take, and trying to incentivize them to either at least reconsider the transaction or execute the transaction in the moment by offering them something relevant to that point of their journey. Am I understanding the intent-based promotional module? Am I understanding what that means?
Yes, correct. So you said exactly right. So the idea, and also there's a connection between the modules. So let's take the Microsoft Edge as an example. So Microsoft Edge is showing promotions at the end of the day to customers, promotions that are not yours, right? They're showing alternative products on other sites. And an interesting avenue that we're now taking with our clients now is on one hand to block whatever we want to block or whatever they want to block. And in addition, provide the best promotions on your site. So we provide them two complementary modules. One is prevention, and the other one is a proactive module that allows you to create the best promotions on your site. So even if the customer is seeing the promotions of Edge, you want to show the customer, your customer, the best promotions and that is the best fit for him or her. So the idea of intent-based promotion is, as we said before, not to give everyone the same thing, because it's not one size fits all. Every customer came for a different reason, right? One customer came to replace an item, to get a refund, one just browsing. One is very determined to buy, and one is determined to buy something that costs high, and someone that is something trendy. And the idea here of the engine is to look at all the signals, let's call them, or data features that are available while you browse. Things like you mentioned, the click stream and their behavior and everything. But even more important than that, more interesting than that, in my opinion, is the features that are there. Let's take honey, for example. Honey is something that Namogoo has been dealing with, things like honey, for many years. What we found is that end users that have honey installed, or Amazon installed, or Rakuten Ebates installed, or even an ad blocker, or a password saver, things like that, beyond doing what they do, they also can also serve as an amazing signal for the user to buy. So just by knowing that you have honey installed on your device, I can tell a lot about you, your interest, the probability to buy that we mentioned. So the probability to buy of users that have shopping extensions installed is extremely high. It's about 5x more than an average user. So just by knowing that you have something like that installed, even before you looked at a certain product, even before you clicked on a certain item, even before you went to the X button on the top, I can tell a lot about you and what is the chance that you're going to buy, and I can tailor the promotion on. And by doing that, Namogoo is maybe the first company in the world that nailed the first-time visitor challenge. So this is something that we talk a lot about with our customers. The first-time visitors, let's take Jason that goes to Nike.com, right? And we never saw him on the site, and we don't know if he's going to buy or not. We don't know if he has the capability to buy. We don't know if he's determined or not, because we never saw him. So just by looking at all the factors that I mentioned. Another one, by the way, another interesting example that we are very proud of is the speed of the device and the speed of the internet and things like that. So things that you wouldn't imagine what kind of correlation they have to purchasing habits. So just by measuring all of these things, we have a very good way to know if you're going to buy or not, and what is the promotion, if at all, that it would be best to provide. So what intent-based promotion does, you as marketing executive or digital executive, what we say to our clients, you put all your dreams on the canvas, right? You can design 20 different promotions, and what the engine would do at any given moment, it would decide if the customer is eligible to one of the campaigns that you're running, and B, whether it's worth showing you a promotion, and if so, which one, because they have to live. So the engine would choose at any given moment the right promotion to show to Jason, to make sure that he has an unstoppable journey, as we call it. Maybe it's good to show it now, maybe it's not good to show it now. And the idea is to connect it back to the platform to provide continuity, because we want Jason to be happy. We want Jason to get exactly what he needs. We want Jason to buy, and we want Jason to get to the product that he wants. And we want Jason to come back to additional journeys to buy more. We want him to be satisfied. So the idea is to change the paradigm of how companies run promotions today, which is very static and very, very traditional, I would say. And we're talking to the biggest companies in the world, our clients like Marks and Spencer and the JCPenney and Lowe's and Argos in the UK and any of the biggest accounts. We spoke a few weeks ago to Flipkart, which are the biggest e-commerce in India, and they're extremely fascinated by the technology that we're building, because it changes the paradigm that companies are doing these days. It's very unique. And today it's all about ROI. It's all about the return on investment that you're able to show, and the business metrics that we managed to improve for companies, like I mentioned, is amazing. Yeah, that's about the second product, intent-based promotions. By the way, to that, we just acquired another company that provides our clients the ability to send personalized email and SMS to bring them back to additional sessions, again, based on the AI engine that makes everything personalized.
And if we look at what you call the customer journey OS module, and it says on your website, orchestrate, manage, and act upon all journey data in real time to deliver precise experiences that drive revenue. Can you give me a practical, or were some of those examples that you gave around intent-based promotions, is that part of the customer journey OS, or is Journey OS really its own module that has its own experiences that it drives? Can you give me an example, a practical example of what Journey OS, give me an example of when Journey OS would come into play and what I might see as a customer on the front end as part of Journey?
Sure. So before I give an example, maybe let's talk 2 minutes how this idea even started. So over the years, while working with all these clients, by the way, I'm not sure I mentioned, but Namogoo is now currently deployed on 1.2 billion unique monthly users, massive amount of users. And we see trends, by the way, when we're deployed on a certain client, a certain site, we are deployed on every page view, every page, and every session, every journey that they send worldwide. So from North America and Canada to South America to Europe and Asia and New Zealand and Australia. So we're covering the majority of the e-commerce globally today with the 1.2 billion unique monthly users. And what happened over the years is we collected and we built techniques and technologies to collect data. By the way, none of our data is PII, so it's PII free, and that's why our clients like it. Nothing is personal. It's not about the gender or the email or the location of the visitor or the credit card. Everything is now anonymized. So it's something that's
based on behavior. It's basically based on behavior.
It's behavior and things that, are within the browser that cannot say anything about the person and the details, the personal details of the person. And what happened over the years is that our clients, beyond the products and the modules that they buy from us, started asking from us for the data itself. Okay, in addition to running promotions on my site that are based on intent, can you give me the intent data? Because we want to do additional things with it beyond promotions. So we started asking why. What can you do with it? So they said, for example, if I know that this customer has a low intent to buy, maybe I can emphasize, maybe I can connect my Yotpo or my Bazaar Voice or any other review solution to this intent data for Namogoo, provided by Namogoo, that can help me emphasize reviews only for these visitors and not for everyone. Maybe if I know the chance to abandon, the risk to abandon is very high, maybe I want to trigger a chatbot to ask the customer for help. Maybe we can offer help. But I don't want to do it for every customer because it can be distracting. Maybe if I know, let's remain with the intent. So if I know that the intent, because of the honey, because of the whatever we said, if the intent is very high, maybe when this user gets to the cart, I want to provide a bundle of products. It's a service that I'm currently using on my site, and I want to provide a bundle, but I don't want to do it for everyone. I want to do it only for a specific portion of my site. Maybe I'm running an experiment, and I want to see more data on how the experiment is going. So I want to take the data that you're providing me, Namogoo providing me, to do additional things. What we initially did was we started to give the data and fire the data to Adobe and fire the data to Google Analytics and fire it to here and fire it to there. But then we understood that there's amazing potential here to take all this data and wrap it as an independent module, and we call it a Customer Journey OS. And the goal of this Customer Journey OS is to become the operating system of online journeys, of all the .com sites. Later is going to be on the mobile app as well. But to become this core module that will be at the core of the customer journey, that will make the customer journey, as we call it, autonomous. So this inspiration that we have in this world actually came from the revolution of the autonomous cars. And this, by the way, it's a separate topic, but we can talk about it for hours. But I'm certain that in a few years from now, when this technology becomes more mature, you will get to the car in a few years from now. You will type an address in New York, and you will get to the car will just take you there, and you can go to sleep. You can watch movies. You can listen to interesting podcasts on technology, and the car will take you there. And for this technology to happen, for this vision to happen, to have autonomous cars that will take you to your destination, many things need to happen, right? So you need to have this car would need to have lots of data, right? We need to have cameras all over. You need to have microphones, right? Because cameras cannot see everything. Sometimes this car might hear a voice of a baby or voice of brakes of a car or whatever. And it needs to have all kinds of sensors, rain sensor and temperature sensor, thermometer, and et cetera, et cetera. And it needs to have all this data. It needs to have a strong computer inside the car, or in other words, operating system that would take all this data from the sensors or that provides the signals, and everything in the car will need to be connected to this operating system. So if there's rain outside, you want the washers of the car to wipe the rain, right? And if it's dark outside, and the sensors feed that back into the car, you want the lights to turn on without the need for the driver to do it. So this is it's basic examples. And we also have cars today that when you go on a highway, BMW has many cars like that. When you go on a highway, the volume of the radio, of the multimedia, goes up, right? Because it understands that it needs to go, when you drive faster, the volume needs to be higher. And when you go off the highway, the volume goes down back to normal. So these are very basic examples, but in a few years from now, everything is going to be connected. Took this amazing inspiration to the customer journey. Today, the customer journey, everything on the customer journey is very complex, very hectic, very manual. Nothing is connected. You take your company's 30, 40, 50 different services online, nothing is connected. And the idea of the customer journey is to become this basic core element that provides the data that this customer journey needs, and have amazing connectivity both in and out to all the services, and from all the services and to all the services, to make everything work together. So a basic example, like you said, is if I understand that this is a customer with low intent to buy or high intent to buy, I, as the site owner, want all the services to understand that and work accordingly. So it can be relevant for the ads that I'm running and for the reviews and for the risk management solutions that I'm running and for the product. And I want, whenever I see frustrated customer, I want it to be visible to all the tools, and I want all the tools to play as an orchestra to that music, to that beat, and operate accordingly. Maybe I want my analytics, my Hotjar, my Content Square, my session cam, whatever. I want them to start recording the session. Maybe if there's a user that's Amazon loyal and it exists in the customer journey by Namogoo, I want all the services to react accordingly. Maybe it's a user that requires a special attention. Maybe I want this data to be fired, and it's something that we do, by the way. We want this data to be fired to Facebook because I want to retarget this customer when he's on social tomorrow or even today. I want to retarget this customer with messages that are relevant for Amazon loyal customers. So the idea is to provide an operating system with lots of data and great connectivity to different systems to make sure that all the services are working together as a band and kind of play the same music.
Singing off the same hymn sheet.
Exactly.
And through that acquisition of that email and SMS provider, and I'm guessing that SMS may not be global yet, it may be only in specific countries because that's usually the case, but from an email perspective, how obviously if you don't have any PII, how do you know what email address to send these nudges to, or are you basically, do you take over the email marketing automation for authenticated customers as well in that environment?
Exactly. So either we connect to the email providers that already have the emails, but what we feed them is with the data that we know on the customer, again, non-PII, to what to show to the customer. Because again, the goal at the end of the day is to provide the best personalized experience. So in that case, we would connect to these systems. And in addition, we, in our intent-based promotions product, built the capability to intelligently collect email and SMS, of course, by the approval. So we provide a promotion, a personalized promotion for the end user to provide the email and SMS, because in many cases, customers do want to interact with the brand. In many cases, because they want to get promotions and they want to get some news on the brand and the trending items, etc., etc. So in many cases, they do want. By the way, because we operate in the browser, we know which customers are more privacy sensitive, and in that case, we would not distract them with the offer to their email and SMS. So, you're right. We would need to have the consent of the customer to provide the email and SMS. Either we do it or we connect to other services that do it, but allow them to start sending better emails and SMS messages to their customers.
Makes absolute sense. Now, on your integrations page, you've got quite a few out-of-the-box integrations with major e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce, like Shopify, like Magento. You've got some other integrations like with the Adobe Audience Manager, ad platforms like AdRoll, and other content personalization platforms like Content Square. And you've even got an integration with Salesforce Commerce Cloud, formerly known as Demandware. You've also got integrations with the likes of certain CDPs like Evergage, of course, Facebook ads, Google Analytics, some CRMs like HubSpot and the like. And for you guys, what level of, when you say integration like this, an out-of-the-box turnkey integration, what does that mean for you guys in terms of the data that you collect? Is it simply a JavaScript snippet that has to be installed on the front end of an e-commerce platform that starts doing all the wizardry? Or are there other things like first-party cookies? Clearly, you're going to be tracking things like IP addresses and various other pieces of information you can gather as first-party data on the front-end experience. What is it that you guys are doing to even collect the data in the first place, even though it's anonymized and you're not grabbing PII or personally identifiable information, but you still are obviously having to grab some data about the user experience. And so I'm guessing, is that primarily JavaScript driven?
Yes, it's only JavaScript. It's a cookie free. So we do not rely on cookie, and the IP does not matter to us. So unlike many other solutions that try to track users between sites and they need to use cookies for that, we collect everything on the fly, and non-PII IP is not needed. So it's essentially a JavaScript that runs on the fly and does what it does on the fly. So no need for cookies, no need for IP. So it's JavaScript only. And for the integration to happen, we fire data. Either we collect data or we fire data. Content Square is a good example. We just finished a strategic integration with them to provide our clients, or actually their clients, way more sophisticated and deep understanding of their customers. So, for example, know which customers have ad blocker and incognito and a strong device or shopping extensions installed. All many things, just only the tip of the iceberg there. But to enrich the Content Square analytics with hundreds of new additional features that would tell a lot about your customers. So the idea there is to enrich the analytics and provide Content Square users to do a much more sophisticated work. Another interesting example, we're now pursuing interesting partnerships with companies that are doing A/B tests that use the customer journey OS data to either learn more about the test, how it happened, how it performed on many analytics layers that they were missing. So we enrich the analytics of the experiment. And even more interesting, to trigger tests based on the customer journey OS data. So if you want to run a test on incognito users only because you want to improve how they buy, you're able to do it through the operating system, through the customer journey OS, to read this data from the customer journey OS and then trigger the test. So tools like Optimizely and the A/B tests or the Google Tag Manager, all the tools that control the tests on the site. And another interesting avenue is we're pursuing interesting partnerships now in the advertising world to fire gold populations to Facebook, to Instagram, with agencies that run campaigns for companies with a very unique angle. We now have some interesting case studies on that. And also strategic partnerships with very big ad networks today that are using Namogoo's expertise in the shopping and retail and commerce area and take it to the publishers world to improve acquisition and retargeting. Very interesting avenues for the customer journey OS on many fronts.
Wow, lots happening, and you count some pretty big brands from ASICS to Dollar Shave Club, Marks and Spencer, Tumi, Samsonite. You've got some pretty big brands sitting underneath your umbrella, and I'm sure you've got many other brands other than that. I think you've got hundreds. And so obviously you've got a broad swathe of brands. Now, how do you guys make your money? Now, as far as I can tell, because there's no, obvious pricing or tiering on the website, so clearly this is an enterprise product. Anytime you don't display pricing as a SaaS platform, that's because it's aimed at the enterprise, and so therefore it's typically a tailored proposal for what the customer needs. But in broad terms, you've got these 4 different primary modules, and so I'm guessing that there's maybe a flat SaaS fee for the platform, and then depending on what modules they need combined with the number of sessions per month, I'm guessing it's some combination of those that determine how much a customer might pay for your platform.
Correct. So in terms of markets, Namogoo started as a company that sells to enterprise only, but in the past 2 years, we expanded aggressively towards the mid-market, and then all the smaller enterprises, and also the SMBs of the world. So today, the pricing is not available on the site, but we're now expanding this SMB market aggressively. And so it's not only enterprises anymore, so provided to the whole market. And in terms of the pricing model, it's exactly what you said. It's a combination of the SaaS aspect of it is, or the basic element of it is the size of the site. So you pay we have tiers of sessions or orders depending on the module for the size of the site. So bigger sites would pay more than smaller sites, but our entry point to the platform is something around 1K a month. So it can be very attractive. And then you go as you expand. And in addition, we have specific modules that you would upgrade. You would pay more if you want to upgrade. And many of them do it. They start, with the basic, and then they expand over time. So it's exactly what you said. A combination of the size of the site and the modules we keep it to be very
simple is best. That they say the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. That's always good. And thank you very much for, I guess, sharing all this amazing information, Ohad. It's been a fascinating talk, and it sounds like some truly groundbreaking and very unique technology that you've got on your hands there, and obviously through some acquisitions in addition to your own technology and plugging it all together into a holistic whole, it's creating some incredible experiences for customers that are basically dramatically reducing the friction of traversing a website and making a purchase. And ultimately, at the end of the day, anything we can do to reduce that friction in a personalized way has got to be a good thing. So it's the ultimate personalization platform in that regard. Now, you're not necessarily recommending products like a Nosto or something like that, but what you are doing is you're removing those key friction points throughout the journey across the website, and you're presenting the right promotional messaging to the right customer at the right time based on their intent and based on their behaviors. So love what you guys are doing. Sounds super, super interesting. I've never used your platform before, but sounds amazing for what it can do out of the box, turnkey. Install a bit of JavaScript and you can be up and running. I'm guessing within days you can be up and running and collecting data at the very least to start personalizing off the backside of that. Now, as we come to the end of our time together, we come to the segment of the program where I turn the tables on myself, I turn the microphone over to you, and I let you ask me one question, any question you like, and I do everything in my power to answer it to the best of my ability. So, Ohad Greenshpan from Namogoo, over to you. One question, any question you like.
Great. What kind of a technology you saw lately that kind of blew your mind?
Wow, that's a very good question. What technology have I seen lately that has blown my mind? Actually, I'm going to share something with you. Yeah, of course. I'm gonna share something with you that I think is not necessarily specifically aimed at e-commerce, but I have a friend in the industry who also happens to be an artist. And so he's been an artist for like 20 years. And so he, of course, is super excited about Web3. He's super excited about NFTs. He's super excited about where this whole concept of digital art is headed and the ability to create totally immersive digital experiences on the back of physical experiences. And so he shared with me some of the stuff that he's working on this morning. The timing is amazing. You asked this question. And he's been working on a combination of physical art, so art that he's painted, combined with all sorts of other forms or formats of that art. So taking that art and turning it into stop motion art, turning it into VR art, immersive VR art, also turning it into an NFT as well alongside that art, but also creating effectively versions of that art that are digital only variants of that art. And I was absolutely blown away. So it's almost like a mixed media digital version of a physical art piece. So he takes the initial physical art piece, which is a one-off, and then he makes digital remixes of that art that are digital only. And then he also has NFTs of those digital remixes. Then he has immersive VR versions of that exact same art and video streams of that same art. And it's totally 3D. Like he showed me an example of a video that is effectively a video version of the VR experience. And it turns the art that is 2D. Obviously it was the piece of art was originally on a piece of canvas. And then that gets turned into a piece of 3D immersive art. And so you can see through the art, you can see the layers of the art. It is totally mind-blowing. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Literally never seen anything like it in my life. And I think that when we start thinking about what Web3 can do for us, and some of the technologies that are coming down the pipe in terms of immersive virtual reality experiences, this is the type of thing that I could see. Like, it is totally engaging. You cannot take your eyes off it. It is that engaging. And my hope is that this level of technical artistry will be brought to commerce experiences in virtual reality. I can only hope that's the case, because if we have the same old, at the moment, VR experiences in Web3 are completely boring. They're basically recreating physical shots with the same physical look and feel as a physical store, but in VR. Now, that's not interesting to me. We can do way better. And I hope that we can do way better, because I think that we can create something that is so unique that you literally cannot take your eyes off of it. And that's where I hope we're headed with the metaverse in the future.
Amazing. I totally agree. I think that the people that are visionary and they change the world, break the walls between online and offline and the virtual and physical, and make it like a fusion, like a blend, and not just enrich, not do something very small. They break the walls between these worlds, and it seems that's what your friend does. And to hear you talking about it with all this passion and energy is just inspiring to me. So thanks for that.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you, or they want to get a hold of Namogoo and they want to check it out, they want to find out more, are they best to go to the website and just check it out, or are they best to reach out to you on something like LinkedIn? How are people best to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so either on the website, or my email is ohad@namogoo.com, or through LinkedIn. Any channel would be okay. So maybe the email would be best, ohad@namogoo.com.
Awesome. Obviously, if they want to go find out more about the platform and they want to find out more about the modules, they can go to namogoo.com. They can see everything, all the information on your website, or they can reach out to you via email and have it.
Exactly. If I invite companies that want to be disruptive and want to grow in ways that they haven't tried before, I invite them to come and try. I'm sure that they're going to find our technologies very unique and interesting for them, and I invite them to come and try it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Ohad. I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks for listening to the At the Coalface podcast. If you want more At the Coalface, you can subscribe to our premium e-commerce and digital newsletter, At the Coalface Digest.